Do you secretly wish that you had some Chinese blood to be more business minded? Is being Chinoy really an advantage when it comes to business success? Is it even true that they are that good in business? You are in the right place if you're asking these questions because this episode is the last part of the three-part series, Three Things We Can Learn from Successful Chinoy Business Owners. So far, we have differentiated between Chinese and Chinoys. I also said that my two grandfathers as well as my husband's grandfathers were both Chinese because they were born in China and were Chinese nationals. I also mentioned that our four grandmothers were Filipinas. So our parents were all Chinoys or Chinais, my husband and I, as well as our kids are also Chinoys and Chinais. Because we're born here, we're Pinoys, even if we have some drops of Chinese blood. Now, even our grandchildren will be Chinoys and Chinais as well. Now, next, we identified the similarities between the Chinoys and the OFWs of today. We said that they were forced to leave their homeland because of extreme corruption, lack of livelihood in our own country, poverty, and most especially love for family. I hope you remember the lessons we had. We also pointed out the differences. The first was the weather, 3 months of winter in China, while only days of bad weather in the Philippines, which was why the Chinese who came were savers and they were frugal. Secondly, education. The Chinese who came here in the 1600s and 1800s, 1900s were illiterate and they were unemployable except as cargadores. That's why they had no choice but to be peddlers and later owners of businesses. So owning a business was the only choice that they had because there was really no other choice for them. Now, while Pinoys, however, are highly educated and so when we go abroad as OFWs, except for the domestic helpers, we usually get good jobs. And from these two differences, we talked about things that are blessings and what are not. We said that the harsh winters in China, which killed hundreds of thousands, turned out to be blessings for the Chinese because they learned to save and be frugal. And the blessings of having good weather and fertile soil for us here in the Philippines are now making lives difficult for us because we have embraced the culture of utang or borrowing money. Now, from the top, from our presidents to the lowliest people in our society, borrowing money seems to be a given. Since we Pinoys and the Chinese who came here have similar situations, but what was different were the lessons that we could adopt. Then we identified two major lessons that we can learn from them. The first is the habit of saving and frugality, and the second is modeling business over employment for our kids. Okay? In today's episode, we have one remaining lesson left to learn, and I'd like to tell you of another story of how we started our business. If you heard my story, you'd know that I started my business with zero capital. I was a teacher, and because my husband was unemployed, I decided to have a sideline. I started asking my co-teachers what I can sell to them. They asked me to sell them rice, eggs, small appliances, and jewelry. Now, since we were living hand to mouth, then we were both employees when we started, I decided to approach my friends and relatives. I asked them if I can be their reseller and if they can sell to me on consignment. Now, this means that I'll only pay them after I collect my payments from my customers. And I found relatives and friends who were willing to supply products to me. We call this consignment. Nobody, not even one person, refused me. Are you wondering why? Well, it's because they knew my father, who was a school teacher, and they knew that my father was an honest man. They also knew my husband's Chinese grandfather and his Chinoy son, who is my father-in-law, and they both had the reputation of being honest people. Even as children, my Chinoy father would always hammer it into our heads to be honest and trustworthy, to live within our means, to save, to be frugal, and not borrow money to buy things that are not necessities. He wasn't religious. He was just a man of principles, and he taught us to guard our reputation really, really well. He said he does not have much to leave us, but his good name is what he can leave behind. And that good name is very precious to us. Now, I did not understand it at that time. So, one time, when I came to Ongpin to buy jewelry from a store, at the end of the transaction, I paid cash. But when I came back to the same store next month, it was surprising. The owner, who was a stranger to me, recognized me and said, "Oh, go ahead and choose, Mrs. You can issue a check for 30 days." So I enjoyed a credit line without understanding how I earned it. But who was I to refuse, right? So she became a regular supplier and soon we got pretty close. And one day, many years later, she invited us for dinner. And that's when I asked her why she decided to allow me to pay her in a post-dated check for such a big amount. Well, she said that after I told them the name of my store, she quickly did a background check. She found out that my husband and I came from families with a reputation for being honest people. So I asked, but you're in Manila. How could you do a background check of people in Zamboanga? And she said, it's easy. We can do it through the network of our bank managers or through the family associations or through the Chamber of Commerce and other associations. Remember, there were no Facebook and cell phones then. Even then, it was easy to trace dishonest people. And now, it's much easier to do it. When we were also in debt and we needed to borrow more money, there were people who were always willing to lend us money. Again, this is because of the good name that our Chinese grandfathers left us and the Chinoy parents who carried on the value of trustworthiness and honesty. Okay? Now, there you have it, the 3 lessons we can learn from successful Chinoy business owners. One is to save and to be frugal. Second, to model business over employment. And the third one and the last one is to take care of our good name. Now, the belief that the Chinese are good in business is not always true. There are workers in Pogo that you meet as well as the Chinese cooks in 5-star hotels. They're just like us Pinoys. They're employees or self-employed who don't know anything about business. This means that being Chinese or having Chinese blood is not a guarantee for business success. What's more of a determinant for business success is growing up in the business environment. Just like in some Chinoys homes, where values like savings, frugality, and taking care of one's good name are taught from generation to generation. So now, do you see that even if you are not a Chinoy, as long as you do these 3 things and apply these 3 lessons, you have equal chances of success as any Chinoy out there? This is Mami N, your Mami Negosyo, saying, be business-minded. So see you in the next video.